Hi, welcome to Smell the Flowers Yoga. My name's Jessica Flowers. And for this practice today, we'll be primarily sitting in the chair. At one point, we may come up to standing and you would have the option to hold on to the back of your chair. So just a few things about the practice. Don't think you can see in the video, but I have my chair set up on a mat. You want to make sure that your chair is not going to slide around. So if you have a slippery floor and your chair is slippery, if you have a yoga mat that you could set it on top of, that would be helpful. The other thing you may want is I have a few blocks here. So we are going to be coming into some forward folds where if bringing your hands all the way down to the ground is a little bit too far, you may want to bring your hands onto blocks. Other than that, I have a blanket on top of my chair. So you may try that also if you have a hard chair and you want a little extra padding, especially as we get to the end and we come into our seated Shavasana. That will be nice to have that. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, I think that should be it. Just be careful if you are sitting on a blanket that that's not going to slip around either. Yeah, so we'll get started. This practice is going to be for the brain, something that I'm really passionate about. I love studying neuroscience and how yoga can improve our brain function. So we will be doing a variety of different types of movements today that will help to kind of primarily like get the two sides of your brain working together with each other and help to improve those connections. You actually can build new neural networks in your brain. So that's pretty fascinating to me. Hopefully it is to you as well. So we're going to be doing a variety of different movements, bilateral movements where we'll be moving things on the same side of our body, contralateral movements where we will be moving opposite sides of the body, and we'll also do some movements where we will be crossing the midline. So we'll get started with a nice simple bilateral movement. You can start with just taking your right hand. As you inhale, just open your palm up. As you inhale, make a fist. As you exhale, let your hand relax. As you inhale, make a fist. As you exhale, let your hand relax. So inhaling and exhaling. Now you can also lift up your right heel as you make that fist with your right hand. And as you exhale, just let your foot and your hand relax. And then we'll go over to the left side. So you can start by just making that fist as you inhale, letting it relax on your exhale. And then when you're ready, you can lift your heel as you make that fist on your inhale. And then we'll do a few times with both hands, both heels lift as you make your fists and relax. Lift your heels, make your fists, and then let everything soften on your exhale. All right, now we're going to make it just a little bit more complicated. This time when you inhale and you make that fist with your right hand, lift your left heel. And then you can let that relax. Make the fist with your left hand and lift your right heel. And then back and forth. And then we'll do a few times again. Both hands, both heels lift. And just let that go. Close your eyes for a moment. Just check in. Notice how your nervous system is feeling. And take a moment to connect with your breath. Then we'll do a simple breathing practice. So just from your seated position, we won't be doing anything with the legs this time. You'll just inhale your arms up to shoulder height and then continue up overhead with your right hand. So I'm mirroring you on this one. And then as you exhale, let your right hand come back down. When it meets up at shoulder height with your left, you can lower both hands down together. This time inhaling up to shoulder height, your left hand will continue overhead. And then as you exhale, lower your left hand down. When it meets up with your right at shoulder height, you can lower both down together. We'll continue just like that, inhaling both arms up to shoulder height. Your right hand continues overhead. They meet back up at your shoulders and lower back down. Once again, they both come up to shoulder height. Left hand continues overhead. As you exhale, it lowers back down and they lower down together. One more time on each side. And then we'll do 3 times all the way up and all the way back down. Just feel your arms floating through the air. As you inhale and you lift up, you can feel your ribs lift up out of your hips as you get a little bit taller. As you exhale, just soften and relax back down. This next time that you lift up, you can stay here. Maybe you gaze up. Maybe you come into a little bit of a back bend. Open your arms. And then just exhale, float your arms back down. Next, we'll get ready to do a little bit of a twist. You can inhale your arms just up. Your elbows can stay by your side. And then as you exhale, start by twisting to the right. So I'll mirror you again. You can let your right hand just float down to the side of your chair. Your left hand can come to your heart. And then we'll just go over to the other side. So your right hand can come to your chest. Your left hand just goes down to the side of your chair. Inhale back to center. Just twisting side to side. Not a really big twist, nice and gentle. This next time that you twist over to the right, we'll stay here for a few rounds of breath. Get a little taller on your inhale, soften on your exhale. You can inhale that right arm up, just cross it over your left as you turn back to the center. You can either just keep your arms crossed here, giving yourself a hug, open up your shoulder blades in the back, or you could come into eagle arms, either lifting your elbows up, bringing the backs of your palms together, or maybe you wrap your arms around, bringing palm to palm. Take a few more rounds of breath here. And you can release that. Come back to that starting position for the twist. And we're just going to twist to the left this time, lowering your left hand down onto your chair. Your right hand comes over your chest or up by your shoulder, whichever feels most comfortable. Take a few rounds of breath here. You can inhale that left arm up, cross it over the right. They're giving yourself a hug. Or maybe lifting your arms up into eagle arms, either palm to palm or backs of the hands together. You can release, let that go. A little shake. I like to do that a lot of times in between. And then next we're gonna, you can stretch your legs out a little bit longer. I think I'll adjust the camera just a little bit so you can see my legs. There we go. Okay, all right, you still see my head? Okay, so this time you're going to take your left arm up and extend your right leg out long. So see, it's similar to the movement that we made at the beginning of class, just making it a little bit bigger. And we're doing that contralateral, so we're doing opposite arm and leg. One more time to each side. And then you could do both arms, both legs. Stretch out nice and long. Inhaling open and exhaling, coming back in. Nice. Just stay there for a moment. Now this next one, we will be kind of doing that crossing the midline motion. So I'm gonna come forward a little bit on my chair. You might want to do that as well. It's a little tricky. Yeah, you do want to come forward on your chair because we'll be crossing the arms in front of our body and behind our body. You could cross them like this too, and then down low. And then we'll be crossing one leg in front and then behind the other. So this is where it gets a little challenging. This is your brain practice. So, and part of this is we are giving our brain something to do, keeping it occupied so that we can just sort of let those thoughts go. Give our brain a little bit of a mental break by keeping it occupied. So this is a good one for that. You can start with taking your left leg and just cross it behind as you cross your arms in front of your body. And then cross it in front of your right leg as you cross your arms behind. So you see, we're just crossing the leg behind as the arms come front and in front as the arms go behind. Just a few more times like that. All right, you can set that left foot down and we'll start with the right. Again, I'm mirroring you for this one. So your right foot, you can start by crossing it behind your left leg as your arms cross in front, and then in front of your left leg as your arms cross behind. Leg behind, arms in front, arms behind, leg in front. A few more times like that. Don't worry if you mess up and get it wrong. That's good. That's good work for your brain. All right, and then let that go. Right, nice job. Now, for this next one, you'll have the option to come up to standing. We will be using the chair for support. If you had your blocks there, you might just bring them in close to your chair because we're going to be standing next to the chair. So we'll start with, let's see, I'm on the left side of my chair with my right foot forward, but if you're on your opposite of me, you'd have your left foot forward and be on the right side of your chair. Just gotta adjust my camera here again. Okay. So we're basically going to be coming into a warrior one pose with, if you're mirroring me, your left foot forward, right foot back, and you want to be able to comfortably bend into that front leg with your knee not really going out over your ankle. So, and your back leg, well, your feet will be about hip width apart, and the toes on your back leg might be turned out a little bit. So when you're ready and feel comfortable that you can bend in and out of that front knee, you're going to inhale your opposite arm as you bend into your knee, and as you exhale, just soften your knee as you lower your arm back down. So we're doing that contralateral movement, doing something different, engaging our opposite leg and arm, using the chair for a little bit of support. Now this next time you come into your warrior one, you can stay here. Option to lift up that other hand as well. Maybe you gaze up. You might come into a little bit of a back bend. But don't worry, if you don't feel comfortable with this, you can just keep your hand on the chair. A few more breaths here. And just float your arm back down. We'll come over to the other side. So now I'm on the right side of my chair. I'll step my left foot forward. You might be on the opposite of me. So if you're on your left side of your chair, you're going to step your right foot forward. Just whichever leg is closest to the chair will be in front. Move my chair a little forward. Okay. And then your feet are about hip width apart. Your back toes might be turned out a bit. You want to be able to comfortably bend into that front knee. And when you're ready, you can begin to inhale, lift your opposite arm of the knee that you're bending into, and exhale back out. Inhaling into your warrior one, and exhaling to come back out. A few more times, moving in and out. And then this next time, you have the option to stay here. Maybe you lift that other arm up as well. You might gaze open, your hands a little bit wider, maybe come into a little bit of a back bend. A few more breaths here. And then you can float your arms back down. Just step that back foot forward. We're going to come back into the chair now. And we're going to do a seated version of Bhavasana pose. So for this, you'll just inhale your arms up overhead. Then you can slide your left hand down the inside of your right arm. Inhale back up overhead. And then slide your right hand down the inside of your left arm. Inhale back overhead. So we're crossing the midline here. And then as you exhale, your hands will come down in front. You can inhale both arms up overhead again. You'll start that sliding down the arm. Your arm just comes down to shoulder height. There you go. Inhale back up overhead. Now this time your arms are going to float down behind your back. So you might need to move forward a little bit on your chair. And your palms can be pointed down like this, or maybe they point up behind your back. You can choose what feels best for you. We'll do a few more rounds like that. Inhaling arms up. And sliding down. As your arm comes down to shoulder height. This time hands float down the center, coming just in front of your heart. Inhale back up. And then start the sliding down the inside of your arm again. And then your hands float behind your back. We'll do one more round. Inhale both arms overhead. As you exhale, you slide one hand down the inside of the opposite arm. Inhale back up overhead. Hands float down in front. And then you can either go straight back up, or sometimes I like to scoop up to start that process again, sliding down the arms. And then back behind your back. And then you can just float your arms up and pull them back down through your heart center. And just let them rest comfortably at your sides for a moment. Next, we're going to be doing a seated version of lightning pose with alternating arms and a little bit of a twist. We will be coming into forward folds here, so you might want your blocks up by your feet if you don't like bringing your hands all the way down to the ground. All right, so to start with, we'll have both arms up overhead, and then you can float your right arm behind your back as your left hand comes forward, and you can turn your face over to the right. So your left hand might come down to that block, or maybe all the way to the ground. Then you inhale back up. Your right arm can come up to meet your left. And then as you exhale, just your opposite arm. So your left arm might float behind your back, the back of your hand coming to your back as you turn to the left, and your right hand comes down to the ground. You'll inhale, both arms will come up overhead. And then as you exhale, you can float your right arm back behind your back. As you turn to the right, as you inhale and you come back up, both arms can reach up overhead. And then back over to the left with your left hand coming to your back as you turn to the left with your face. Inhale back up. Let's do one more time to each side. All right, and then we'll do 3 times in the center. Both arms reach down, and both arms come back up. Using those nice strong muscles in your abdomen as you lower down and exhale. As you inhale and you come back up, you'll use your abdominal muscles a bit and your back muscles. One more time. All right, nice job. You can float your arms back down. And then next we're going to come into a, we'll start with just hugging one knee into the chest. You can, I'll mirror you again. You can pull your right knee in. Let's keep it here for a few breaths. And you can let that right knee fall out to the side, just crossing the right ankle over the top of your left thigh like this. A little figure 4 stretch seated. You could fold forward here if you like. Take a few more breaths here. And then coming back up, you'll slide that right leg a little bit more over left, just crossing it right over. And then your right arm will cross onto your left. So we're coming into a seated eagle pose. You can either bring your hands to your shoulders, or maybe your hands come up into those eagle arms. Few more breaths here. can release that, let it go, give your arms a shake, maybe bounce your legs up and down. All right, and then we'll get ready for the other side. So you can hug your left knee into your chest, wrap your arms around the leg. And then you're going to open that knee out to the side as you cross your left ankle over the top of your right thigh for that figure four stretch. You can stay upright, or you could fold forward to intensify that a bit if it feels all right. You can keep your ankle flexed. That'll help not put too much stress on these tendons around the knee. And inhaling back up, if you had folded forward, you can cross that left leg all the way over the right, kind of stacking your knees over each other. We're going to come into that seated eagle pose. So this time crossing your left arm under your right, either bringing your hands to your shoulders or bringing them up in front of you. We'll take 6 or 7 more rounds of breath here. Release your arms, uncross your legs, give everything a little bit of a shake. All right, then we're going to take the legs open nice and wide. You're going to have one block in the center in front of you, and you have your toes turned out to the sides as well. So we're kind of like a goddess pose with the legs. And we're going to come down here. You can bring your hand, one hand, you can start with your right. I've got my left here, so I'm mirroring you again. And then just inhale your left arm up. If this isn't comfortable, you can just keep your left hand on your hip, but you're just opening to the left side. We'll take a few breaths here. So option to have that arm raised up. And then we'll switch to the other side. So you can bring that left hand down up to the block. Lift your right arm open. Option to just have it down on your hip. And we'll do one more time to each side. A little shorter this time. And then we'll just come into a wide leg forward fold. So you could take your blocks out by your feet, or maybe you feel like you don't need the blocks. You can just let your head hang down, or you might feel comfortable having your hands in front of your head. Just kind of let your head relax, shake your head, you can shake your shoulders. Right, and then we'll come back up and we are going to get set up for our Shavasana. So I will show you a few different ways you might want to do this. One, you can just simply stretch your legs out long. You might take the blanket and bring it over the back of your chair so you can kind of lean back and have that be padded with your arms just resting down at your sides. So that would be one simple way to do it. You might also want a blanket to cover up with. Another thing that you can do, which I will back up a little bit so you can see this, is if you have a couple of blocks and you happen to have a bolster, you can bring the bolster out in front of you. See how I have it almost like even if you had like a footstool, actually, probably that would be easier just to get a footstool. But so you can have your legs out. Yeah, a footstool would be easier, then it wouldn't tip over like that. But you can just have your legs out long in front of you like this. So those would be some options for Shavasana. Now if you did feel comfortable enough coming down to the floor, you could also do Shavasana on the floor. Or another thing that I like to do when I have a chair available, like I do here today, is you can have your blanket padded on your chair, and then you bring your hips in close to your chair and just have your legs rest on your chair like that, and your arms can rest comfortably on the floor with your palms turned up. So you choose what works best for you for your final relaxation. I'm just going to come to seated, and I'll guide you out of your relaxation in a few minutes. You might begin to deepen your breath a bit as we prepare to reawaken the body. You can start by bringing a little wiggle into your right toes. Feel that connection all the way from your toes, your right toes, to the left side of your brain. And then you can wiggle your left toes. Feel that connection all the way from your left toes to the right side of your brain. And you might wiggle your right toes and your right fingers together, and your left toes and your left fingers, and all your fingers and toes, maybe circling your wrists and your ankles. And be coming back up to a full seat. You might take several rounds of breath here, just making sure you're fully awake and alert before you attempt to get up and move on about your day. I hope that you enjoyed that practice and that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.